Right, without further ado, I shall move us on to the second speaker of tonight, who is none other than our ex-president Fernando Azevedo. He is going to talk on the subject of the power of influence. I've always felt, coming back to the bar analogy, it's sort of ongoing theme to me, that alcohol has a tremendous power of influence. It really can influence, for example, from a medical perspective, short-term memory. Now, what does alcohol do? Without further ado, Fernando Azevedo on the subject of the power of influence. Fernando Azevedo, the power of influence. Thank you.
Very good evening, everybody. Before I start with the full speech, I have a question for the crowd. Who can tell me what is confirmation bias? Anyone, put up the hand. Yes, the lady in the front. Yes.
It's when you really believe something and then you seek out other sources to confirm what you already believe.
Exactly that. You look for little things that confirm your own little beliefs. Now, social media, the dilemma of social media is a great way to multiply this, to amplify this, and make this so much worse, or so much better, depending on your perspective. Because it gives you the ability to go and choose a little camp or a little group that you agree with and stick with that group no matter what. Now, why do people have this affinity? Okay? There was a social scientist in the 1819s called Erich Fromm, and he postulated that people feel an intense isolation and therefore an extreme anxiety to independent thought. And so they will seek the safety of a crowd or the safety of a powerful person or a powerful speaker to kind of tender that anxiety. There was a French social philosopher, Gustave Le Bon, who postulated a bit further in 1900 that further to this, when this happens, is you get something called crowd mentality, a group think, a group mind. And in that group mind, an individual starts to lose a sense of their individual responsibility, of their individual accountability. Because suddenly, you're anonymous in the large group. Now you take social media that bombards you with this information constantly, and it just feeds these little biases, it feeds these little groups. And then with each little click and each little reaction to every story, to every little item that you have an affinity towards, okay? That starts to feed the almighty algorithm. And the more you receive that you subtly agree with, the more you're influenced. The more you're influenced, the more you're distracted. The more you're distracted, the less you are able to think critically. And the less you're able to think critically, the easier you are to influence and control. Tell anyone a lie enough times, and they'll believe anything that you say. Can anyone guess who said that in the famous speech? Adolf Hitler. it has become so bad that Generation Z, yes, Z, not Z, is the first generation in recorded history that in general knows less than the previous generation and has a lower cognitive ability than the previous generation. The last time this happened was 100 years after the fall of the Roman Empire. That's almost 1,500 years ago. Australia recently introduced a law, I think it's going to become a national law in March, that no child under the age of 16 is allowed to have a social media account. And there are other countries following suit, and these are not dictatorial countries. It's countries like Singapore, Finland, Sweden, that are starting to have an affinity to this idea. Okay? But now that's saving them. What can you and I do? What books can we read if all the books are all about going into one camp or another camp? We could do a tech detox, but all of this information is pervasive. It gets in, whether you like it or not. I would like to suggest a small little rebellion. Start questioning what you receive. Instead of seeking out a group, maybe start asking questions. Maybe have a conversation with another person. And instead of judging them for what they say, perhaps have compassion and understand where they come from. And then ask yourself, were you listening to me? Or were you influenced by this little video?
Thank you very much, Nando. Excellent speech.
Excellent.
Yeah, I can't remember what the influence was of that speech. No, it's very good speech. Very good speech. Dutch courage. Lovely. Well, I think we move on to the timer report, please, Fernando.
Right, that was a 5 to 7 minute speech, and despite Nando's affinity to not sticking to the time, it was 6 minutes and 35 seconds.
And a tough one for the grammarian, or maybe not. Let's see. Can we have a grammarian report, please, Ivan?
I've written nothing down because I was watching the video, sorry. Just kidding. I know Fernando's a brilliant speaker, so I really had to dig deep for this to try and find faults. It's going to be more comical than anything else. You said 19. No.
That was on purpose.
Okay. No. A phrase that stood out was the almighty algorithm. What was a cool saying. For the heck of it, I'm going to say not Generation Z, it's Generation Z.
No, it isn't.
Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong, dictatorial. Is it not supposed to be said dictatorial? Or is it dictatorial?
Dictatorial.
No, I did say dictatorial.
Okay,
But if you're fast and you've had a whiskey.
And then this is a common one that we normally bring up in our forum meetings. Instead of saying, I would like to, but we always try to leave that saying out and you just say what you need to say without preempting or telling the crowd what you're going to do. So you just go ahead and say it without saying you would like us to, would like to. And that's it. Otherwise, it's brilliant. Brilliant speech.
do we have a couple of questions to quiz him on this enormous subject, one might even say infinitesimal? Rightly pointed out as a mistake, sir. Just waiting for anyone listening around the floor. But no, Marnus, have you got a first question?
How did you decide on the boot video?
A lot of motion. So there's a lot of things happening all the time, and that's something that most humans immediately gravitate towards. So I wanted something that I knew would actually distract you.
Question, Lydia.
I just want to know what the video was about.
Guy fixing boots.
Any old cobblers. And, oh, go on, let's squeeze one more in.
Quick one. Maybe more of a comment, Fernando. Because I mean, I always have these discussions with my two boys, and say, there's this confirmation bias, and the algorithm's just watching you. The more you watch these videos, the more Big Brother's just going to know what you want. But it's true with books as well.
Yes.
Isn't it? So that's the thing. It's a lot more with social media. But you can go and read exactly what you want to. If you want to read on with Nazism, or communism, or whatever
It's precisely that.
Yes. But I guess it's just not, you're not bombarded and you have a bit of time to think about it.
Yeah. So if you are ever keen, there are three authors with three very specific books I always recommend. Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. The Castle Was Fallen by Aldous Huxley, and 1984 by George Orwell. All predicting more or less what we're experiencing right now, and these books were written in the 30s, respectively.
Putting it on the
I've written that down. I encourage him to do that so that we can all have confirmation bias when reading those books.
Yes. So that's the thing. That's the only thing about those books is that they give you the antithesis of confirmations on this, which is lovely. In a fictional way.
Estia, are you ready to go with the evaluation, please?
Ready to evaluate Fernando, but I will say something.
No, this is for the context. I really need an evaluation.
So Nando's doing that speech, I should have said, as part of a contest speech, and so it's not part of the Toastmasters Pathways speech, which is the learning pathways that we speak for a while. Nevertheless, Estia's been good enough to critique him, probably in a hard way because he's an experienced speaker, so for the people who are new here, we're very gentle in beginning rooms and so on, but Nando's a very experienced speaker, and he's doing this for a competition, so I don't imagine that she'll be blowing smoke up there. Estia, welcome to the podium. Thank you.
Treating us again with a very good speech. And I think, it's really, three people already said what a brilliant speech it was. So I just also want to say it was a really good speech. I think definitely the main thing which stood out for me was how you use your process. Every time I want to have this, I would say, yes, this time I'm going to use process, but I think you did that really well. You will say so much words, so much better. You will ask a question and then you will say, why do people? I think that is so efficient. You also said once, okay, and then you paused. So that was really effective. From the beginning, you involved the audience by asking a question, which I think always work. You have brilliant eye contact, your hand gestures. You have all sorts of hand gestures, not only a specific one. One I can remember was, what can you and I do? It's really, what can you and I do? So there were really different hand questions, hand gestures. Did you have some notes here?
I actually did, yeah.
Yeah, and I think, I thought only later on I saw that you looked at your notes, hiding them in the idea, which is absolutely brilliant. Yes, you looked once or twice at your notes, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. to look at my notes. Is that a normal like am I correct?
In the contest reaction of allowed notes, I need to word it.
Okay. Great reference to specific people, for example, Adolf Hitler. The one about what you said about Generation Z.
Thank you.
It's something, you know, it's quite something you said. So maybe we can back that up with a citation because it's
There's actually senatorial hearings in the United States and Canada, and in the EU, and in the EU Parliament.
yeah, I'm sure.
I can back it up. Okay.
I'm
Thank
sure
you.
you will definitely find something because I think it's not something light. You said then what was also brilliant for me is how you trick the audience by making suggestions at the end. I mean, each one of us could take something from this speech and we could think about something. Excellent timing, 0.6 minutes 35. Really the only thing I want to say, of course the librarian in me wanted a full citation, not a 19 da. But the only thing I thought was, and that was at this stage, it was as if your sentences were too long. Because you said something, and then you said and. That was literally the only thing. But congratulations on one.
But did the information flow? That's the main thing I wanted.
Yes, I think definitely the information, yes, there was that golden thread through the speech. I just always say, shorter sentences, it's much easier to understand, and it's so easy when you're fluid in your speech and you know that you're going to say and, because you have so much to say. Thank you so much, Laura.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stan. Can I ask, try